If you enjoy playing Crit Misfortune, then this video will be especially interesting for you. Hello my fellow Misfortunates and welcome to another analysis video. We're looking at a Misfortune game in a Master to Challenger Korean lobby, and what I see more and more, I think is just dead. Yeah. Bad for blue team, I guess. But what I see more and more nowadays, well, as you know, Crit Misfortune is typically played with Press the Attack, and sometimes Nimbus Cloak secondary, sometimes Biscuits and Boots. But this Dark Harvest rune page, it's popping up more and more, and well, it does make a lot of sense on Misfortune, because she can trigger Dark Harvest quite easily with her E and her ultimate, but maybe this is optimal. I'm actually not sure. The Press the Attack page holds a lot of value in the early game, but Dark Harvest just seems rather strong in the mid to late game, so I guess you can make it matchup dependent. I'm not exactly sure, but I see it's gaining popularity, so we definitely need to keep a close eye on that rune page. Again, the Dark Harvest keystone with the Bloodline and Presence of Mind secondary. More often than not, this is paired with not a pure crit build, but with a Serrated Dirk into Essence Reaver Infinity Edge. But I'm fairly confident you can also play this with pure crit. Actually, I wouldn't mind. I think this is actually a page with which you can utilize Rapid Fire Cannon. Mainly because Rapid Fire Cannon allows you to collect way more Dark Harvest stacks in the mid to late game, as it increases your effective range and your actual range. So, yeah, right now, blue team holds lane priority in the bot lane, because, well, Leona Misfortune is a rather nasty combo. And additionally, the red team does not have heal in their summoner spells, because Aphelios took the cleanse in order to, well, not get one shot as soon as Leona looks at him. Post level 6, that is. Leona with Misfortune after level 6 is super nasty, but this looks iffy at best. Misfortune out of mana. 4 versus 3. That's not good for blue team. I can tell you that much. They need to run towards Lilia. And even then... Oh, okay. Xin Zhao looks overextended. She gets the reset with the Presence of Mind, but still... Yeah. They went a little bit greedy there. Triple kill for the Silas that early. The last thing you want to see when you play AD carry is a fed mid laner, because mages have a lot of one-shot potential, especially against immobile AD carries. Excuse me. Immobile AD carries such as Misfortune, they can't really cope with that too well. When you play like Ezreal, you can leverage your escape tool quite a bit, but Misfortune, as soon as she gets into range, yeah, that's going to be nasty. But I mean, this is always something new players struggle with, is dealing with fed enemies. So seeing how it is done properly at Master to Challenger Elo is definitely valuable if we want to grow as players, right? So Aphelios has yeah, he definitely has item advantage. He has a refillable plus pickaxe. In Misfortune, well, double longsword is only 5 less AD than pickaxe. But still, 5 AD in the early game is quite noticeable. And Misfortune opted for an early Fairy Charm, which is quite interesting. I'm personally not the biggest fan of this item, but you certainly can do it. It only costs you 38 gold effectively, because you can sell it for almost its buying price. So you pay like what, 120 when you buy it, and you sell it for 87 or whatever. So yeah, it is definitely viable to help with mana in the early game. And for the mid to late game, she has Presence of Mind anyway, so that shouldn't be any issue. Right now Leona is not with her, so Misfortune needs to sit back at her tower, because if she gets engaged right now, she might die, or at least lose a lot of health and then not be able to farm on the tower. So right now this wave's slow pushing towards Misfortune, so she doesn't really need to be proactive here. She can just sit on the tower, wait for Leona, and she can still stay in experience range, right? Yeah, the make it range, trying to get the cannon minion. That was actually already too much. You see, Rakan instantly punishes. This is why you should just wait on the tower. Going for that cannon minion was somewhat greedy, and she gets punished accordingly. So yeah, just wait. Just soak up experience when you're 1 versus 2. and especially with item disadvantage, and farm under tower as soon as you get the chance to. Enemy bot lane looks like they're base, which is clever of them. Ah, okay, so they're not base, but whenever the enemy support is not in lane, you can essentially waste their time, because whenever the enemy back timings are not synchronized, that means whenever that... How do I explain this? The support returns to lane with probably full health and items, because they usually come from base, right? And if you then base, the incentive for the enemy team is to shove in the wave and base again. So the support just based, or they have been wherever. And then as soon as they come back to lane, they effectively need to base again to synchronize their back timings with their AD carry. So yeah. As soon as the enemy is in a 2v2 situation again and you're no longer 2v1, this is what you do. I hope that was clear. Maybe let me summarize this real quick. So the enemy AD carry is alone, right? So you can pressure them for free. Then, after some time, their support comes back to lane with full health and full items. This is when you hard shove the wave. And because it was slow pushing anyway, right? This is when you hard shove the wave and go back yourselves. This wastes time for the enemy support. Yeah, there we can see the potency of Dark Harvest with Misfortune's E and Ultimate. But they are at a disadvantage. Going for a dive like this, well, going for dives is more risky the more early into the game you are, because towers deal... They don't scale into the game, really. So in the early game... that's a nice execute, though. In the early game, they deal much more damage, relatively speaking. Because in the late game, you have higher level, you have more HP, more armor, you can tank towers way more easily. So in the early game, they do hurt really bad. And on top of that, you dive when you have item disadvantage when you're behind already. So yeah, that's always quite risky. And as we saw, Misfortune died. Pyke covered bot lane, so Misfortune naturally went mid lane to take the farm there. There's no reason to go bot lane too and let that wave go to waste and then share XP in the bot lane. Yeah, that's just optimized macro in the early game. And now they can... Well, now Misfortune can push another lane. They see Sylas, right? They know Sylas is not there. So she can fast push this lane, causing Sylas to miss a little bit more CS, and then either join the fight if it's happening, or just go bot lane again. So yeah, right now they are kind of looking at each other menacingly, and Misfortune wants to be there just in case, which is fine. Definitely a correct choice. Another Dark Harvest trigger, that was nice. Xin Zhao is quite tough to deal with for Misfortune, by the way, because his ulti essentially makes your ulti useless, right? And Misfortune's ulti is obviously a big part of her kit. But yeah, we see again Misfortune with the early serrated Dirk. Now she's going to push in this wave and go bot lane, yeah, finally. Okay, this is a good time to resume laning normally, especially as the wave is crashing into her tower. She doesn't want to lose too much farm. But yeah, it's looking rather grim for blue team right now. I guess red team can also use their pressure to force the first dragon very soon. But yeah, right now this doesn't seem to be contested, so that's definitely a glimmer of hope for the blue team. Getting that Rift Herald to hopefully crack open mid lane. And Xin Zhao is top lane, so Misfortune doesn't have too much to worry about. Enemy bot lane's also missing, but they're likely base. Let's see if I'm right. No, they're actually not base. Aphelios is on his way mid lane, okay. But still, as long as you get the chance to free farm as an AD carry in the early game, you should definitely just take it. You're so much stronger than anybody else in the late game that any amount of gold you can get right now will go a long way. And we see right there, Misfortune's kind of uneasy. They see a lot of people roaming bot lane. Also, the dragon is a very juicy objective now, so a lot of enemies might be there. So she just pushes past river and then goes base. Push past river, roam, right? And roam can also mean go base and then go wherever you're needed. That should be good. Yeah, that works. Leona, the chain CC monster. And she arrives perfectly to grab her wave. Yeah, that should be a kill, right? Perfect. Well, that should be another kill. That's a super aggressive teleport. Okay, the backup is there. But under tower, I don't think they can do too much to them. Again, towers in the early game are so strong. Yeah, that teleport coming from the Silas was definitely a tad too aggressive. Another teleport coming out, oh my god, poor Misfortune. Run, my friend. She went Ghostblade first. This is also something you can do. When you go Serrated Dirk first, you have two choices. You can either sit on that Serrated Dirk and then finish Essence Reaver and Infinity Edge, or you can, and then in the late game, upgrade to Edge of Night. Or you can go for an early Ghostblade, which is a nice early power spike. I personally would probably go for Duskblade with Misfortune when I want to upgrade the item. But when you don't go for a full lethality build, Ghostblade is also fine. But yeah, it's just personal preference. This Misfortune player also has Relentless Hunter. Another option would be Ultimate Hunter. But if you go for that much cooldown reduction in Ghostblade and Essence Reaver, Ultimate Hunter is also kind of overkill. So yeah, you do have some options there. You can alter the runes and items to your playstyle. The main difference for me between Duskblade and Ghostblade on Misfortune, by the way, is the raw amount of stats. They cost the same amount of money, but Duskblade has 5 more AD and 3 more lethality on it. It's not even about the passives or actives. Duskblade also has the benefit of showing you where, or not exactly where enemy wards are, but they show you, or Duskblade shows you if you're standing on a ward. Because in your tooltip, you see if the Night Stalker passive is ready. And let's say you're standing in Tribush, and the Night Stalker passive starts to disappear, right? The little icon goes, whoop, and it's gone. That means you are spotted, which inferentially means there's a ward in this bush, and you need to be careful. So yeah, that's some hidden utility from Duskblade. So I like this better, generally speaking, but I mean, Ghostblade is fine-ish. Also Cheap Shot, also a rune this Misfortune player went for, is a very nice combo with E. Because E is damage over time and a slow, this means normally you need 2 instances of damage to trigger Cheap Shot. Because the slowing spell itself doesn't count. However, if it's damage over time, they just need to take the second tick for Cheap Shot to trigger, and it's quite a bit of damage. Alright, nice. That should be towers, shouldn't it? We're 14 minutes into the game, so towers are fairly squishy because they lose all their extra armor. In case you don't know, the armor comes from the platings, and the platings obviously fall at 14 minutes. So that tower is fairly squishy, especially with the early Ghostblade. Lethality works on towers, friendly reminder. And well, they see Silas, they see Jin Zhao, and this this allows them to push this extra wave safely, but typically you don't want to overdo it. Push past River Rome. This is already a little bit risky. I mean, not really, because they see almost, they know where everyone is. But yeah, okay, Misfortune realizes this is quite risky, especially with no extra attack speed. Taking Gromp can take quite a while. So she decides to base, which I appreciate. There she says the Fairy Charm. Again, at this point she doesn't really need it anymore. She has maximum stacks on her Presence of Mind, which means 500 extra mana. So she shouldn't run into mana problems, and every takedown obviously restores 20% of her max mana instantly. So yeah, Fairy Charm did its job, it's no longer needed. Alright, so now going bot lane is a little bit pointless, which is why Misfortune goes mid lane. Whenever turret platings fall, the outer towers again lose their armor, are easier to take. And this is where you should try to crack open the enemy mid lane tower. Because mid lane, well, the mid lane tower is just the most important objective on the map. Whenever you take enemy mid lane tower, it opens up so many opportunities. You can invade without being seen. You can push minions far into their base to provide for vision, because minions are also little sources of vision, right? Which then enables you to take Dragon or Rift Herald or Baron way more safely. So yeah, before you realistically can take any jungle monster like Dragon or Baron for free, you need to crack open the enemy mid lane towers. But yeah, next Dragon is spawning right now, so both teams are eyeing that down, definitely. Misfortune's kind of isolated here. She should probably be closer to her team. So Infernal Drake spawned, And I mean, it would be very risky to attempt to take it for either team. So this is why they're still fighting over mid lane. Okay, the Xin Zhao engaged, dodging the Rakan knockup, and now she ults. Okay, that ult is a little bit... she should have probably ulted into the bush. Yeah, that ult was a little bit iffy, if you ask me. Yeah, again, red team's still way stronger. That's looking grim. That should be an Infernal Drake for them. Okay, but yeah, you saw that. Enemies were already disengaging, and then Miss Fortune started ulting. So what she did well was she waited for the Xin Zhao ult to be on cooldown, so that doesn't interfere with her plans. But, I mean, that was such a juicy target. There were 2 people in this bush. Good job, Pyke. But there were 2 people in this bush you could have ulted, and they are in a choke point here. They can't just run in a straight line away from you. However, these 3 they could, and they did. Ulting enemies that are already disengaging is never a good plan when you play Miss Fortune. Oh well. So, Infernal Drake's still on the map because of Pyke's interference. And now Miss Fortune respawned, collecting Dark Harvest stacks left and right. I like it. I like Dark Harvest a lot. It's such a fun rune. Just the mere concept of infinite stacking is... it's exciting in and of itself, isn't it? Okay, so now because they failed to do Dragon after the 1 team fight, again, whenever you win a team fight, you want to take an objective, because that's how you snowball your lead. And snowballing leads wins games in League of Legends. But yeah, now blue team can take it, because Pyke was too big of a disruption. And then red team overstayed, lost the next team fight, and now blue team took it. Alright, so I really didn't... I was so sure red team was just going to rush Dragon, but Pyke, really the MVP here, so far. Again, big disadvantage for blue team because they lost their mid tower. They need to take that red mid tower as soon as possible, or else they're not having a good chance of winning. So, Miss Fortune obviously trying to catch the side wave, because there's no reason to just let the tower take it, and she's very close to her tower, which means enemies would be overextending a lot to try to get towards her, but yeah, she just pushes a little bit here, and now walks towards her team. Yeah, following up on that Leona engage. I probably would not have ulted there. Again, the enemy are still rather far away and can easily avoid your ulti. Well, the entire duration of your ulti, which is... Wait. Okay, for a second I thought Xin Zhao would be going super deep, but he's disengaging right away. Okay, so here we actually see an entirely different build. So I was expecting... by the way, obviously you might think I've had a look at this game, at the post-game stats, and no, because I actually downloaded the replay. But I've downloaded it a few days back, just looking at it, and thought it was interesting. So I actually don't remember the items being bought. But actually this Miss Fortune does not even go for Essence Reaver Infinity Edge, but just straight up Infinity Edge, which is obviously good damage-wise, at least in this season. Next season that will change. But it's possible. I mean, okay, that was just a clean catch. If you have presence of mind, then you don't really need the mana regeneration from Essence Reaver. But still, the cooldown reduction is quite nice for Miss Fortune. I would assume. Well, I don't know. Maybe she goes instantly into Rapid Fire Cannon, which I can also see being a thing with the Dark Harvest and with the early Infinity Edge. But yeah, typically I think it's better to just go for Essence Reaver first. Also increases the value of Infinity Edge. The crazy thing about Infinity Edge in this season is that it's gold efficient in and of itself, even without any other crit item. Yeah, they need to run here. Miss Fortune also completely So yeah, if you don't get a takedown, then obviously Presence of Mind doesn't sustain you indefinitely. So Essence Reaver is still a valuable purchase, especially when you're a low-ish elo player and have trouble, well, I should rather say, or have trouble managing Miss Fortune's mana effectively. Then Essence Reaver is definitely a must-buy if you go for the crit Miss Fortune build. So she's backing because no mana and probably a lot of gold. Oh, the instant rapid fire cannon purchase. Okay, here we go. Let's see how this works out. Again, I'm personally not the biggest fan of Rapid Fire Cannon on Misfortune because it gives 0 attack damage, and attack damage is Misfortune's most important stat. But the interaction with Misfortune's Q can make it worth it. And with Dark Harvest, well, the extra range doesn't allow you to trigger press the attack, for instance, but it does allow you to trigger Dark Harvest, so we'll see. Especially against Xin Zhao, I think the purchase makes a lot of sense, because you don't want to get close to him. And with long-ranged auto attacks, you might even force out his ulti without using your own. Yeah, he was low health. Going in there did not work out for him, obviously. They should have this, shouldn't they? All things considered. Yeah, okay, with healing reduction, Sylas has no chance. They had an ignite for him at the ready. When you are not playing at the top level, then also people don't really manage, or they don't really coordinate their ignites in the mid to late game. So when you're facing, for example, Sylas or Vladimir or whatever, or any champion with lots of healing, then not fighting them with healing reduction is quite risky. So if you're playing in low-ish elo, you can't really rely on your support or mid laner to save their ignites for precisely those situations. So there, and even I do it, I play in mid to high diamond, and even I would always buy an Executioner's Calling to make absolutely sure that they don't randomly pop off with their insane amounts of healing. So yeah, keep that in mind. And at this level of play, I mean, this is like the highest level of play imaginable. There you can definitely trust your Ignite-wielding teammates. But generally speaking, you need to make sure you have healing reduction against those champions, especially when they're that fed. This Sylas has 13 kills. I don't think Red Team can rush Dragon for free here. But yeah, Xin Zhao is such a nasty threat for Misfortune. I think it's so satisfying though, just ulting with MF and then seeing those Dark Harvest stacks fly towards you. But yeah, they can't fight this. Misfortune has no health. Maybe a cheeky rapid fire cannon attack. Again, you see that ridiculous healing there. They can't deal with that. Yeah, that should be Drake for the red team. But Misfortune is doing a good job holding their own. Yeah, during this downtime, obviously you go for farm, so you actually get stronger. AD carries are all about scaling, and Misfortune is no exception, especially Crit Misfortune. She needs a lot of gold to get all her items she needs. Okay, now she can base. Yeah, that looks like she's going to finish Mortal Reminder or maybe Lord Dom's. Okay, she did finish Mortal Reminder. Again, good choice. Healing reduction is... I mean, you're always on the safer side. And in the late game, you also need it against Xin Zhao eventually. And Volibear. Well, it's not as bad as it was before the Volibear rework, but healing reduction definitely helps there as well. However, Sylas is the main culprit. Yeah, Misfortune should take red buff as well here. Especially with Rapid Fire Cannon, she gets so much value off of this. Okay, now we're ready to fight, aren't we? Blue team has 0 vision on Baron. That could be a problem down the road. And Renekton is dead. Yeah, that Sylas is looking like he's running away with the game. In this choke point, that's a good that's a good area to ult. You see, right in this choke point, they can't really run or dodge left and right. That's the issue, though. The burst damage. But that's the issue. Whenever you ult as Misfortune, you need to make sure enemies can't run you down, because while you channel, you essentially root yourself, because if you move, your ult stops, right? That makes you a very easy target. Yeah, with numbers disadvantage, they need to let this tower fall. There's no alternative. They can't protect it. If I were this Misfortune, I would definitely go for Aegis of the Legion now. Looking to get my death stance. Just so I can survive that burst damage, right? Yeah, using E to check. Misfortune's E gives vision, in case you don't know. And again, just farming, getting to max items as fast as possible. It's super crucial. AD carries are the class that scales best with gold and items. Let's see how much do we have. Okay, this also could be another BF sword, which is also fine, definitely. Depending on what you want to buy here. Maybe Bloodthirster is also a good choice. Yeah, there's the BF sword. Also the best immediate power spike. BF sword is always a small power spike, so to speak, because 40 attack damage is worth 1,400 gold. However, BF sword only costs 1,300. This matters more in the early game than in the late game, definitely. But it's still there, right? It's still also the most slot-efficient purchase she can make there. Looks like Rakan's just jumping away. But yeah, at least blue team now has vision on Baron. Also, they are... the blue side of the map has an easier time controlling Baron, because red team would need to walk through those choke points, right? The reverse is true for Dragon. Their red team has the advantage. Oh, come on, that hurts to look at, boys. But yeah, when you take Dragon, red team has an easier time doing it, because blue team would need to walk through the choke points, right? Yeah, good awareness from Misfortune, making sure she cannot get engaged on. Dodging the Rakan knockup. That should be good, actually. Yeah, Rakan just into... Oh, she one-shot the Silas. Okay, without Silas, blue team can actually win this. It's only the Aphelios left. Yeah, they got this, right? The question is, what do they get out of this now? There are only 3 people alive and no AD carry. So this Baron... Okay, now only 2 people because Pyke just entered into the Aphelios. Okay, I'm not sure. Renekton... Well, AD carries have... their main job is to control objectives, right? You have a lot of attack speed, you have a lot of range, so you can take towers quite easily, at least more easily than your teammates in most cases. And the same is true for Baron. One of the tasks an AD carry needs to be able to fulfill is provide Baron DPS. So yeah, this is super fishy. Such a risky Baron call. I would have spam pinged them back in my own game. You see, this could have ended very wrong. Had Silas been there 2 seconds earlier, that would have been disaster for blue team. Probably game-ending mistake. But yeah, now Misfortune's full build with the last item Bloodthirster, which is definitely viable. Also helping against being one-shot with the shield and, well, utilizing the shields plus W synergies. So, right now farming doesn't make any sense for her anymore, except for experience. So until she's level 18, taking jungle camps is okay. But, because you get soul experience off of those, right? But she should honestly give the last hits of the lane minions to her teammates at this point. Obviously, when you're defending the tower, that's a different story, because then you just need to make sure the minions don't crash. But typically speaking, right, there is a thing such as over-farming in League of Legends, because after 6 items you can't get any stronger. Arguably, Misfortune should sell her Ghostblade for either Stormrazor or Essence Reaver at this point. It's just the crit is more valuable in the late game than a single lethality item. Lethality is only strong if you stack it, at least in the late game. In the early game you're kind of stacking it because 1 out of 1 items is 100% lethality items, right? But at this point in the game, base armor is so high that the value of this Ghostblade is a little bit diminished. But yeah, she went back for her Elixir of Wrath, which is also fine. However, should this game go much longer, again, Ghostblade would be the first item you could sell for a better one. selling an early game item for a late game item. But yeah, now they're in a very favorable siege situation because that Baron call, surprisingly enough, didn't go horribly wrong. Yeah, Misfortune is waiting for opportunity. Xin Zhao's GA on cooldown, that's definitely... Silas ulti, okay. Yeah, she should have this though. That Volibear is out of position, yeah. Now they can just push with Baron, right? They do have the numbers advantage. All of blue team are still alive. But yeah, just imagine how differently that game would have gone had Silas managed to steal that Baron. And that was definitely possible. That Baron call was like the riskiest thing I've ever seen. But yeah, they're looking to finish with Baron, 2 people dead. It's a 5 versus 3. Yeah, just take the towers. There's no reason to chase kills. Good flash. Okay, that should be the game. So yeah, that's the new rune page with the crit build. If you want to see how the regular crit build plays out, then click the link on your screen right there. A big thank you to all my Patreons and channel members. If you want to become a Patreon yourself, just go to patreon.com/mfdb. But if you rather save your money, you can support me for free by clicking the like and the subscribe button.